Okay, so I want to talk about the context of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Obviously, most of the story is going to take place in a fantasy world, so the rules of our world don't really apply. But the book was actually written in a certain time and place. It came out in 1950, so 70 years ago, but it was written a little bit before that during World War II. And it was written by our author, C.S. Lewis, was not an American. It was written during World War II in England, so the situation was a little bit different. So I'm going to show you a map here of Europe. Germany had taken over all of these countries, and they wanted to take over England here. The reason that says United Kingdom is because United Kingdom is England, Wales over here, Scotland up here, and Northern Ireland. And they had taken over all these countries, and Germany wanted England as well. And they had taken over France, and they would fly planes, and they would do what's called air raids. Air raids means you go and you drop bombs to try to scare people into surrendering. And the way they would scare them the most was they would drop the bombs at night when everybody was home. And they didn't go drop the bombs like in the country where all the farms were. They would go to the cities, particularly London, which is a very crowded city, and drop bombs at night. And I have a short little video that kind of talks about the air raids.
Hitler starts the battle for Britain as usual on women and children. From many areas, it's the same story. Military objectives missed. Bombs and destruction on homes and schools.
Okay, so you see it's daytime in that video because that's after the air raid. The air raid would have been the night before when everyone was home. And so you see the women and children, they're frightened. Of course, the men would have been too. But here's something, if you've ever heard the saying, keep calm and carry on, that actually comes from this period. They would have this sign, keep calm and carry on. They would have that posted all over. And the idea was that if you were on the underground train, the subway, if you were walking home at night and the bombs started falling, don't freak out. The idea was we're tough. We're going to keep calm and carry on. We're going to fight through this. We're not going to surrender. The leader of England at that time, Winston Churchill, he said, never surrender. We're going to fight. But of course, if you're a person with children, that's a very frightening thing. And so the idea was if you lived in the city and you could afford, or you had a friend who could help you out, you would send your child to the countryside where they weren't as likely to drop bombs. And so we have here, you see here are children being put on a train. Here are children being put on a bus at that time. And what they're doing is they're sending them to the countryside where there aren't as many air raids and they won't be as frightened. And of course, that would also be a frightening experience, being separated from your parents, because your parents have to keep working and they're going to keep living their lives in the city where the air raids are happening. But the idea was to send children away where, one, they would be safer because those bombs, if they were dropped, they could kill you. And two, and the idea was that children wouldn't have to hear the bombs going off, and that they would help them mentally. And so we're in a tough time too with this virtual learning, and we've had the COVID. And so we also have to keep calm and carry on. And so maybe we can relate just a little bit to the four siblings that we're going to meet in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. But if you're wondering why they're going to the countryside, why they don't have parents, that's the reason. Their parents, I think it's just their mother. The mother sends them away so that they can be safe. So that explains that. And that's all for now.